This is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Spiritual Immersion, Taking the Plunge. And the intention of these podcasts is to support and empower you to explore and be curious about who you are as a spiritual being in this human experience. We're both, right? We're both a spiritual being and we're a human being. And we're always in the process of integrating who we are in our spiritual world and our spiritual self, all those dimensions, and with our human experience, all the elements of our human experience, our humanness, our states of being in terms of emotions, the somatic experience, our mental experience. A lot going on. So today I want to share a little bit about expecting failure. Lately, I've been writing books, and I mentioned a few podcasts ago that I just am in the process of finishing up the last of a new book called I've Arrived. Well, sort of. That's the name of the book. Well, I've arrived. Sort of. Well, it's I've arrived. Well, sort of. That's what it is. So in that process, I'm always anticipating that there's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. There's going to be something that shows up. So I'm anticipating problems. And that's a way that I've been in the world a long time. I don't know about you, but it certainly is something that keeps me from doing what I love to do because I don't want to fail, but I'm anticipating failure. So the other day, and I have aquariums, little aquariums I've mentioned in previous podcasts, and they've been really huge teachers too. And this one project of planting, one way is that some of these plants, they don't want to be in the ground, they want to be out of the ground. So you stick them to rocks with glue, super glue. And I got the glue, and I got the rock, and I got the plants, but it took me a really long time to actually do it. How hard can it be? And I've watched the YouTube videos about how to do it. You just take that super glue, put a little bit on the plant, put a little bit on the rock, put it together, and bada boom, you're done. Put it in the aquarium, and you're good to go. But I kept postponing it, procrastinating, because I expected to fail at it. Again, it's so easy. Or other things that I have to do around here, and I anticipate failure. So finally, I sat down and I wrote this out. It's better to do things wrong or half-assed and anticipate failure than it is to do things correctly and still anticipate failure. Humiliation is never being able to get it right, even when it's right. So this is a state of mind. This is a state of perception. This is a belief. This is an attitude in the world that I've lived with for 68 years. And we have the ability to go, wait a second, I don't have to live that way. I don't have to do it that way. I can do it different. I can anticipate positivity. I can be excited about the possibility of gluing some plant to a rock, but the way that I go through things, and this is true for a lot of my life, regardless of how many books I've written, regardless of crossing the Atlantic Ocean on a sailboat, regardless of, 3 master's degrees and a PhD, it's always been the same, of this reluctance to experience excitement about what I'm into. It's more like, oh my God, what's going to go wrong today? And so to shift this is a big deal. It's a big deal because it's the integration of how do I be with myself in a positive framework? How do I begin to shift that from a negative orientation to a positive one? That, it's all going to be fine. If I make mistakes, maybe I'll lose some plants, but it's not going to be, it's not death of me or harm other than these little plants. And so it's this process that we're in of how do we go through life. And I suspect that any one of us who's going through spiritual immersion processes, which is 99% of us on the planet, that we have this orientation in the world that we're going to fail, or that we're not going to do it right. Or even if we do it right, somebody's going to find fault with us. So what's the point? So as we're willing to say, okay, I don't want to live in that negativity anymore. I don't want to oppress myself with that self-defeating orientation. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of it. And it slows me down and it takes the fun out of doing just about everything. I'm always expecting that things aren't going to go well, which is silly because I'm a very effective person. I get things done. I accomplish a lot. And so you can imagine that all the things that I do, having this negative feedback loop of self-defeatingness, it takes the fun out of it, basically. So when we come to greater awarenesses of how I choose to do what I do, how I choose to not do what I do, it's become a really fascinating experience. People are curious, like, how do you get to some of these realizations? And I get to these realizations by in a sense going backwards from where I'm at to where the source of that, in a sense that when I decided I was going to glue the plant to the rock for my aquarium, then I could feel the resistance, and I go, what is this? And it's like, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to get it wrong. And it's like, you can't get it wrong. You just do this. It's like, no matter what, I just had this anticipation I was going to get it wrong. It's like, what's the source of that belief that I'm going to get it wrong? What's the source of that belief that I'm going to get it wrong? I don't get things wrong very often. I may postpone, like, or procrastinate, but generally I can get things pretty right. But it was this underlying pattern that's been with me, and it's so unconscious, it's so part of who I think I am that I don't even look at it. So the more that I'm willing to look at the source of the resistance, the source of the procrastination, the source of the I'll do it tomorrow, the more I can see where the source of that pattern is, and I can stop it. I can change it. Quite often you'll hear, if you haven't heard already, or if you've read some of my books or are reading it, you'll see that I talk about how do we choose to choose what we choose. And that how do we choose to choose is this process of going, I want to know how I'm choosing to resist. I want to know how I'm choosing to suppress or be self-defeating. I want to understand that, because when I do, then I could go, I'm done with that. I don't need to do that anymore. And then I can think, well, what do I want to replace that with? And lately there's been the word sovereignty has come in to into my awareness. Sovereignty is, I want to be sovereign. I don't want these negative old past life or past experiences to influence me anymore. I want to be sovereign with those out of me. I want to have them outside me and be more at choice about what I bring in. So this is a big practice, to be able to watch our thoughts, watch how they influence us, watch what we do with them, and be able to begin to shift them so that we're bringing more positivity into our life, bringing more expansion, more full expression of who you are, rather than all of the limiting expectations of failure, as in my own personal experience. So this is just something to think about, or consider, or wonder about. You can put it off if you want to. But we're such fascinating beings, these human and spiritual being people inside of us, that I'm finding it more and more fascinating all the time. And the rewards of the exploration are growing exponentially. They're growing in ways that I had no idea would happen. And each one of us will have our own set of experiences which will be different. So I can say, here's what happened for me, but you might have something else happen to you. But staying in the exploration, staying in this spiritual immersion process, um, it's highly rewarding. At on and on and on and on. It becomes more rewarding all the time. All right, I think that's pretty much it for today. So just if you're curious, just notice when you're resisting or when you're um, feeling self-defeated or you're feeling anxious about something that you're going to do, and go, wow, I'm making that worse than it is. I don't have to. I don't have to. I'm not gonna die if I do this, glue a rock to a plant. I'm not gonna die if I get it wrong. I'm just not. So it's like, it's okay. Anyway, if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to contact me at rosie@theparadigmshifts.com, or you can look at my website, which is theparadigmshifts.com. If you're interested in my books or blogs and videos, you can find them there, and you can also find my books on Amazon. All right, and the one you might be curious about is Self-Empowerment 101. That's a good starter. All right, big hugs. Bye for now.